Time to flare?
Damn it. Oh, what? Didn't deploy. God damn it, I didn't have the landing gear deployed. Hello everybody and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. We're jumping in with some further training. We're doing the airline training this time. Going to be doing the Airbus A320 takeoff. I'm going to start off with that. Going from... Oh god, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that airport. So I'm going to go ahead and click flying but get going. We're going to be using the Thrustmaster quadrant with the Thrustmaster side stick as well as the Thrustmaster pendular pedals. So we're going to go ahead and use that. As you can see, you've got your idle thrust. You've got basically 4 different detents. Okay, first detent is your idle. All right, from there, then you go up to your climb. You go to your flex, which is your reduced thrust takeoff, and then you go to your takeoff, which is your max thrust takeoff or go around. You could say if you need to go around for any particular point in flight. Normally, if you're coming in for a landing and it's unsafe to land, then you go activate that, and that will allow you to take off safely. And unless we'll jump into the aircraft and get going. Right, she's going to talk to us first.
For a flight out of Nice Côte d'Azur, don't you think?
Nice Côte d'Azur.
We're on runway
That's how you pronounce it.
22 left, and we're cleared for takeoff. Taking off in an A320 obviously requires more speed and a longer runway than a single-engine prop plane. But luckily, we have some extra tools at our disposal to make the job a little easier once we're airborne. For starters, the autothrust manages engine power to maintain a target airspeed. Autopilot will keep us on track with navigation, and the fly-by-wire system lets us maintain a consistent attitude without needing to make constant adjustments. When I give the word, you're going to execute a straight-out takeoff. After you complete the initial climb, I'll take the controls.
Control 5.
The rotation speed, VR, is 131 knots. I'll call out when we reach it.
There you go. The performance page, which should be in here.
Then, once we hit VR, you just need to begin a gentle rotation by pulling back on the side stick. Don't exceed 10 degrees until you've lifted off. We need to be aware of 3 different detents. CL, the thrust setting we will be in for most of the flight. Toga, to take off at full power on short runways or when performing a go-around. And for today, FLX MCT for a reduced thrust takeoff. We reduce thrust at takeoff to preserve our engine life and save fuel. As you can see on the engine warning and system display, I applied the parking brakes earlier. Whenever you're ready to take off, go ahead and remove them.
Alright, what we're going to go ahead and do first is we're going to go ahead and make sure ground spoilers are retracted. Flaps we're going to set to flaps 2. And we're going to go ahead and do a check for the cabin crew. I believe that's already been done. Parking brake, we're going to go ahead and release. I've got it actually set on the joystick.
Okay, we're ready to go. Apply half forward side stick.
Right.
Then move both thrust levers gently forward to 50% N1.
I'm going to go
Then move them to the flex detent.
flex detent.
Okay, now the auto thrust is armed. Use the rudder to keep us on the center line.
I'm going to pitch down just a little bit, just so that we stay onto
80.
80 knots, 100 knots. Neutral at 100. V1.
Rotate.
Rotate.
Positive climb.
Gear up.
Engage autopilot.
All the pilots engaged.
Autopilot can either be engaged 5 seconds or 100 feet after takeoff to manage heading and altitude. The FMA is showing lever climb. which means we've reached thrust reduction altitude. Adjust the thrust levers to climb detent.
Climb detent.
Now we're in the climb detent. Auto thrust is active and will manage airspeed by adjusting the power. At S speed, retract flaps to 0. Disarm ground spoilers. I have the controls. Nice work. That was a smooth takeoff.
Yeah, and just like that, it'll be a very short episode. Very short video. Anyway, going to next, we're going to do the landing phase. This is a little bit more challenging. It requires a little bit more attention. It's basically the reverse from takeoff, except you got to make sure that you are paying attention to your puppy. And with the fly-by-wire system, it doesn't require too much input on the controls. It's very minimal with the amount of input you need to provide. So you're basically going to be monitoring it slightly, and the aircraft, even as soon as you let go of it, it will actually maintain that heading that you've last set it to. So we'll jump in, get it going. We're basically landing on the same runway that we took off from.
We're on course for a visual landing approach into Nice Côte d'Azur. Auto thrust is going to handle power management.
Landing gear
our
down,
main objective
confirmed.
is to control the pitch to stay on the glide
Everything is
slope.
on. Strobe light should come on as well.
The beauty of fly-by-wire means you only need to use the stick when you want to make attitude adjustments.
Flaps are full.
Anytime you return the stick to the center point, the aircraft will keep to the current attitude. Alright, as long as the auto thrust is on, the speed will be automatically managed. Throttle should stay on the climb detent. Just focus on the trajectory to begin. Remember, fly-by-wire doesn't need a lot of corrective input. Just keep making small adjustments to pitch and roll as necessary. See the screw on the dash above the PFD? Use that as a guideline to keep us centered on the runway. Look to the right of the runway at the 4 colored lights called PAPI. They'll give feedback to stay within a 3-degree glide slope all the way down. We're a little too far out to read the colors yet, but when we're closer, the 4 lights will tell us how we're doing. If the PAPI shows 2 white lights and 2 reds, then we're on target.
1000 above.
4 white lights means we're too high. 4 red means we're too low. At 20 feet, pull back on the stick to kiss the runway, but be careful to avoid a tail strike.
A little bit high at the moment, so I'm going to go ahead and descend down a little bit further. I can see 1 red. I'm going to maintain that for the time for the present heading. Let's straighten ourselves up on the runway here. As I said, with the fly-by-wire system, as I said, you don't need to apply that much input. Where we're currently sitting at right now is pretty good. We can go ahead and level off. Descend a little bit more. Disengage autopilot once we get closer. Alright, autopilot's not even engaged. Oh god. We're not even using autopilot anyway. Let's straighten ourselves up. Alright, we're looking very good. Very good approach. We'll maintain the heading. Altitude's good. We're a little bit higher, so we're going to go in and descend a little again. Perfect. 1000 above. Check. Landing. Come back to our right here a little bit more. We're going to line ourselves up in the middle of the runway. Looking very, very good. Control surfacing is so smooth as well. It's perfect. Okay, we're a little bit higher, we'll come down again.
Too low, terrain.
Check.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain.
We're getting close to the threshold.
Too low, terrain.
Now shift your focus down to
Too
the
low,
end of the
terrain.
runway.
Too low,
Listen
terrain.
for the computer calling out retard.
Too low,
then
terrain.
set thrust to idle.
Too low, terrain. 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 Too low, terrain.
20.
Time to flare?
Damn it. Oh, what? Didn't deploy. God damn it, I didn't have the landing gear deployed. That's funny. After all of that, I didn't have the landing gear deployed. I swear I had the landing gear deployed after all of that. Clearly I didn't. Oh. Yeah, we'll take 2 on that.
For a visual landing
Landing gear
approach
down,
into
check.
East
We're gonna make sure the
Shore.
strobe lights are on. Check. Everything else
Auto
is
thrust is
green.
going to handle power management, so our main objective is to
That's
control
good.
the pitch to stay on the glide slope. The
Check all this
beauty of
little-
fly-by-wire means you only need to use the stick when you want to make attitude adjustments. Anytime you return the stick to the center point, the aircraft will keep to the current attitude. Alright, as long as the auto thrust is on, the speed will be automatically managed. Throttle should stay on the climb detent.
Check.
Just focus
Transport
on the
arms,
trajectory
check.
to
Everything
begin.
else is good.
Remember, fly-by-wire doesn't need a lot of corrective input.
No, it doesn't.
Just keep making small adjustments to pitch and roll as necessary. See the screw on the dash above the PFD? Use that as a guideline to keep us centered on the runway.
Check.
Look to the right of the runway at the 4 colored lights called PAPI.
Happy?
They'll give feedback
there.
to stay within
We're looking
a
good.
3-degree
At a
glide
pretty good-
slope all the way down.
We're at a very good position
We're
right
a
now.
little too far out to read the colors yet.
I can read them.
When we're closer,
We're looking
the 4
pretty good.
lights will tell us how we're doing. If the PAPI shows 2 white lights and 2 reds, then we're on target.
Very good.
4 white lights means we're too high. 4 red means we're too low.
Received.
At 20 feet, pull back on the stick to kiss the runway, but be careful to avoid a tail strike.
We're looking pretty good. We'll maintain the current heading. A little bit low, so we're gonna go ahead and ascend. Check landing it down. Check. Gonna get back onto our center line here. Back onto the center line. A little bit higher, gotta come down. Got hands on the throttles. 1,000. Go back around to the right here. Do a bit higher, gonna come down again. Better. Straighten ourselves up here, but a little bit off center. Much better. Good. That's good. A bit far to the left. Straighten ourselves up once more. Make very small corrective inputs. A little bit higher. Come down. 500.
We're getting close to the threshold. Now shift your focus down to the end of the runway.
Receive.
Listen for the computer calling out retard, then set thrust to idle.
200 above. Line ourselves up with the impact pads. 100 above.
50, 40, 30, 20. Retard. Retard.
Reverse thrusters out. We'll go back onto that center line.
Now return the side stick to neutral. Spoilers and auto brakes are activated.
80 knots. Reverse. Neutral and reverse. 60 knots. Reverse thrusters out. High brake. We'll take this high speed here. Max auto brake on. Brake fans on. We'll take this one. Very nice. We have landed the aircraft successfully. Just like that. And it took us a second attempt. Landing gear deployed this time. We go ahead and switch off turbs. Wing lights can come off. Primary tail lights. Landing lights can come off. Those lights at the taxi. Flaps retracted. Spoilers
Another
disarmed.
great job. At this rate, you'll be the one teaching me how to fly.
Just like that, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful. Go on to next. I believe we've done the A320 takeoff anyway, so that's fine. We've done that. Let's see what else we've got. Sydney, Australia. Let's do it. Since I'm Australian, let's do it. Let's do a Sydney, Australia landing. Or not. Let's go for it. We're good. Go over the little climb. Everything is full. Everything is looking good. Turn lights on. Runway tail lights on. That's good to go. We're a little high, so we'll come down. Line ourselves up with the runway. With the winds, we're going to have that position ourselves just a bit to the right. Just so we can land there safely in the crosswinds. The puppy was still pretty high, so we're going to have to come in a little bit more. $1,000. Sydney has got a bit of texture stuff spawn in here, so that's why it's a little bit laggy. A little bit of judderiness, or whatever you could say. That's looking a bit better. We've got one green, one red. Two red. 500 above. Still too high. Come in, down one more. Too high. 400. Fly slope's good. Still too high. Coming down again. The force is playing down. Good. Perfect. 100. Reverse what's up. Trying to go to a slow roll. Wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. Auto reverse. Auto. We'll take the long. Take this one here. It's not the best, but it'll do. Take the brake fans coming on. Wasn't too bad, but it wasn't the best. We are actually going to end it there. Thank you guys so much for watching another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Some news on the LSPDFR side of things. I'm waiting for that to be updated. So we're not going to see a lot of LSPDFR for the next while. I'm going to be mostly doing a lot of Microsoft Flight Sim. LSPDFR is having some issues. I'm just managed to get 2 new episodes out for LSPDFR that are complete. So stay tuned for them. If not, you probably already watched them. I'm not really sure when what's gonna come out, so I'm just gonna basically push it out as much content as I can. But stay tuned for that. But definitely LSPD5 will be coming back, better and stronger. Just at the moment, I'm running through a lot of issues with crashes and stuff, and I can't actually produce quality content without it crashing and having a huge bearing on the whole impact. So whole impact of the recording. So stay tuned. But nonetheless, thank you guys again so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.